Hey everyone, it is Jessica, the vegan vixen. I'm coming to you from my tub because it was supposed to be spring and it's snowing and I'm a cold wimp and I'm in pain and I'm sick and I was going to go in the hospital and I was like, nah, I can wait a few more days. And then I was like, yeah, okay. So I have a good date in mind. And then I was like, but I had promised this to this person and this to this person. So perhaps I'll put it off till just next weekend, just one more weekend. I'm sure there are other CFers out there that do the same thing and postpone and postpone and procrastinate. And even though we may cough up blood here and there, we just postpone. So I thought to myself, with it being a new season, or we're approaching a new season, why not film a video on something that is important to me and something that I don't think I talk about very often, if ever. I talk about bowels and GI problems, and vaguely I talk on constipation and different ailments that cause GI issues or treatments for GI issues, but I never really talk about all the different treatments that I personally have had to go through over the years. And look at how swollen I am. Do you see this? There's like no collarbones, there's no bone, there's just nothing. Like there's nothing right now. I've gained 13 pounds in less than 8 hours. So that says a lot on the scale of me having a potential blockage or severe constipation that would naturally end me in the hospital for more invasive treatments. Sometimes I can get away with smaller things at home. Now, for years, the standard protocol would be me at home doing a variety of different things. So through the years, I have to keep saying this through the years, that through the years I've been on a myriad of prescription stool softeners, laxatives, and when that just sounds like 2 pills. No. That ranges from liquids to thick liquids to watery liquids to gel pills to powder pills to suppositories to go lightly, like heavy laxatives. That's like a gallon you have to drink versus like a cup of powder mixed into it. And as years have progressed, prescriptions have been added on. So, 15 years ago, there may have been just 20 years ago, there may have been just one powder. And then that one powder turned into 2 to 4 to 8 to 10 powders of the same thing daily. And then that turned into all that laxative with a bigger, stronger laxative that is typically used for colonoscopies. And then there have been liquids added on top of, so it's not just we switch, no, we add. So it's like this building block, and we add the liquids, then the liquids go from 1 to 2 to 4 times a day. Then we add a pill, which starts at 1 pill twice a day to 2 pills 2 times a day. And then we add additional pills, and then we start having these new problems. So then we start adding these new pills to counteract these problems from these meds. And then, oh wait, there's more. Then we start adding suppositories that cause irritation. And then none of this is working. All of these things that I do every single day, nothing works. Then we go to the hospital, and then we have different types of enemas, stronger medicine, then multiple procedures that are more evasive, that are the last. And then we have NG tubes that go into the nose, into the stomach, and suck stuff out. And what happens? It's this vicious cycle. I mean, there was a time 2 or 3 years ago where I was in the hospital 2, sometimes 3 times a month dealing with my GI, and then it got to the point that they had just thrown so many medications at me that I became so exhausted, because not only is my body not breaking down the food, and I'm not getting the nourishment that I need, and I'm not getting the benefits of the healthy foods that I'm supplying to my body, trying to treat it well, because A, I have malnourishment issues with CF, B, again with CF, my body doesn't break down the fats, so, and then that causes the constipation, and then I've had GI surgeries that have also caused strictures, and then I have narrowing of the intestines, which only make things worse, and then I have DIOS, which is a CF side effect, and it stands for distal intestinal obstruction syndrome. And then, you throw in gastroparesis, which then starts the vomiting, so that if I'm already constipated, I'm naturally going to throw up because there's no room for it to move up or down. Or sometimes I could be okay in the GI tract, but the food could really affect me in the stomach, that it comes back up. And then, we didn't know I had celiac until just 2 years ago. And, I would eat wheat and bread and bagels, and that sort of stuff would send my GI spiraling. So, this point, last year, last fall, I had gotten to a point where I just could not stop the bloating. I was bloated. I was swollen every single day. I didn't always want to go to the hospital. I didn't understand why nothing was working. So I said, I'm stopping everything. I'm not going to take anything. I'm not going to do anything. That was a bad move. It was a bad move that put me in the hospital, but it was a good move in the same respect that I did take a lot of the pills and supplements out and said, start from the beginning. So I did all the treatments to get myself cleared. I left the hospital feeling okay. That feeling usually only stays for a day or two. Sometimes I get really lucky and it's like an extra special hospital stay where it's like I feel good for about a week and then I go back into my normal slump. At this point, we had switched my enzymes, and for those of you that don't know what they do, they essentially aid in breaking down the food because my body doesn't produce things like protease and amylase that actually break down the food. So these I have to take before I eat so that I can actually receive the nutrients and that it can actually break down throughout so that I can assimilate the food properly. In reality, I should not have any of these complicated side elements of all the constipation, the irritation, swelling, because of what I'm on, but that doesn't always work because not all bodies are the same, and I had been on every enzyme under the sun at that point. So they put me on a newer one that, by the way, is not covered by my insurance now, so that costs a fortune, and I can't afford it, so I'm working on some patient assistance matters to try to actually live. So, that one turned out to be a miracle. I mean, yes, I still had swelling occasionally. No, it didn't hurt anymore to eat. And for me, that alone was like, what is this feeling? Like, I didn't know you could eat food and not hurt from eating. And I didn't know that I could potentially feel good from eating food. And something that seems so normal to somebody else that you take granted, or you take for granted, to me, I always thought that when I ate, it should hurt. Like, that's all I know, so it didn't seem weird to me. I just thought that's how everybody felt. They do not. And since then, I've had to switch back to my old enzymes, which I do not take with the case on. I break them open and I swallow them. Because I've read a lot about gelatin being bothersome to GI issue prone people. So I have not, and that's the only product that I have ever used with gelatin in it. And it's something that's bothered me since obviously I'm vegan, but I'm not going to say no to something that is so crucial to my living. In fact, it's the number one medicine. If I had to pick only one to live with out of my prescriptions, that would be the one. So that's how important I have to specify that this particular medication is. It's my lifeline, my lifeblood, my life source. So at this time, I'm also just so over the hospital for the year. Like, I'm done. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be in it. I don't want to talk to doctors. I don't want anything to do with it. My body is out of commission and I'm done. I'm over it. So I start doing some research on natural remedies. Now, keep in mind that the suppositories at this point, on top of the laxatives, the powdered laxatives, are what I'm using at home, or what I was using at home. And then the suppositories are really not good for, like, ingredients-wise, they make me just like, ugh. Like, why would anybody put it inside of them, right? But the doctors are like, it's the best option, this is what you have to do. So whatever. How many times a day I would use it? Irrelevant. Because it would be more than what was supposed to be. And it was because I was so desperate to just clean my body out and not feel so sick. Since then, I've lost the majority of my motility in the past few years for the assimilation of food. There's just a lack, and that's really where a lot of the constipation would stem from. And so I found that so many people talked about the benefits of enemas. I am not afraid of an enema. Believe me, I've had fingers and hands and doctors and freaking supplements everywhere under the sun. Like, what's the matter? Like, an enema? No big deal, right? People make such a huge deal over the enema. So that afternoon, I go to Amazon and I order on same-day delivery just your standard pink enema bag. Comes with 2 heads. I'm being like really open here because I think this is so beneficial. 2 heads, this one or a really thin one. I think the difference with the heads are that the larger one tends to, I'd say, come out in a different way than the one that just has one hole. I don't really know the special elements of it, but also one is longer for more of a cleansing effect to the colon. And I know everybody's on both sides of the fence here. It's like really amazing, great for you, or it's so bad your body shouldn't be doing that, it's not natural. Now, a lot of those people, and this is where my mind goes, what? A lot of these people on this side of the fence that are saying it's not natural, nothing should be going up, everything should be coming out, why would you put something up there, are in the same camp of people, and yes, that's like classic bedhead, same camp of people that are prescribing me all of these toxic chemicals to break the stuff down inside of me to release it. They're also the ones prescribing me the suppositories, which, by the way, people, they go up, not down, they go up. So if you're prescribing me chemical after chemical after chemical, and still some of those chemicals are going up, and I'm sure all of which have many side effects that have led me to be where I am today, versus water, distilled freaking water that's been warmed, that goes up and immediately comes back out and helps to moisten the insides, to hydrate the insides, to help with any sort of constipation, which, if you didn't know, constipation is due to or can result in dehydration, because the area that has formed this constipation, which constipation can start from just having a few pieces of food matter stuck to the intestinal lining that could be hardened. So as you have bowel movements or food moves through as it's digesting, bit by bit, little pieces from every amount that goes through will break off and adhere to the pieces that were already stuck there, until eventually it's capped, it's blocked, because it's now hardened and it's sucking the hydration from your body, and everything that comes in is stacking and stacking and stacking on top of it, creating constipation, creating intestinal blockages. You could eat the healthiest diet and have a very poor digestive system, like me, for instance, and you could be in this case all the time. You can be in this scenario. It's very painful. It's very, very debilitating. And, you know, I get that people say the brain rules the body, the lungs rule the body, but I come from a camp on lots of lung flare-ups annually with a very low lung function. And yeah, that sucks because I can't walk and I can't move, and some days it's very painful, especially when I'm very sick. And I can't breathe. I mean, that's horrible. But in the same right, my whole life has been revolved around my GI and the pain and the swelling and one thing after another. And I really do believe that your body is surrounded by your GI and not your brain. I think your GI is your brain. And I only say this because I see how much of a fog I've had to live in. And having to start using the enema, I was just like, I'll try it. So one afternoon, after I got the enema, I had heard of a ritual where you do the enema, especially when you're sick. And I was very sick at the time. I was on IVs, the whole gamut. And I said to myself, I'm so desperate. I've tried everything. And this is the only natural thing I've ever tried. What's it hurt? So I try it, and I follow this ritual that you keep a hot bath running, especially if you're sick, because the whole point of sweating out the toxins, the hot bath, you follow. So you're supposed to do the enema, and, you know, you produce your bowel movement, you can relax in the tub, and, you know, you're just supposed to essentially relax your body, hydrate your body, let the toxins sweat out. Use the enema as many times as you need be to really clean out the intestines. And it's very interesting how much comes out, especially your first time, or at least the first few times. And you're like, how is this possible? Especially on days where you're not swollen and you do it and there's still a lot. You're like, what the heck? But through all of my research and my reading, we tend to carry like a minimum of 10 pounds of feces in our body at all times, especially if we are not practicing the art of cleansing. 10 extra pounds on your body of poop. You could go to the bathroom once a day, call that regular. Sure, that doesn't mean that you're going beautifully or perfectly, and things ferment inside of you because we have such messed up systems because of all the processed food. And it's insane to look at all the sugar that's in food and how that aids the fermentation process of something having not broken down properly. So I think for anybody healthy or unwell, an enema would do you a great service. Just, you don't have to do it like me and do it like every day. I actually do a protocol of several enemas a day just because I don't move anything anymore. My body just doesn't produce without some sort of something. And I look at the scenario of saying an enema which goes in, and again, please keep this in your heads, especially for any person with a GI ailment or cystic fibrosis that may be watching this. Just think for a minute, all these chemicals that you're exposed to, and this is from a medicinal standpoint, but then let's turn and flip the scale to people that aren't ill, people that are eating processed foods, people that are taking things like Tylenol or Advil and not thinking twice about the repercussions of these pills and all these synthetics and all these horrible ingredients. So either camp, this side may have a little more because not only are you doing all these meds, you then are probably following suit with the diet. And so we as a country also result in lots of constipation, and laxative commercials. They're everywhere because they're non-addictive. I do believe that they're non-addictive here, but I do feel like they tend to fuss up some stuff in the GI, especially used long-term habitually, in which that's how I've always been prescribed any sort of stool softener or laxative or any GI motility prescription medication. And so here we are. We're at that breaking point where there's something wrong and we go, on this hand, I could take lots of chemicals to my already chemically laden body, and those chemicals will push stuff through and I'm gonna be fine. Or we could switch to this side and say, I'm gonna take some distilled water and warm it up and put it into my body, let it hydrate my body, and then pull the toxins and pull the excess bowel or excess stool out of my body. Like in my head, once I did a lot of research, this became a no-brainer. Let's pull those chemicals out. Let's let the body heal. Let's let the body do things more naturally. Let's cut out the things that we don't necessarily need to put in our bodies. Now, this would be, for those of you, and for instance, I'm Jane. I'm Jane, and I ran today, and my muscles hurt. I need an Advil, I need a Tylenol, I need a Motrin. I'm Joe, I have a headache. First reaction, Tylenol. No, no, no. Those muscle aches probably, well, obviously are because you're using the muscle, but there are other things that you can do, like adding potassium, magnesium, calcium into the body that helps with a lot of muscle aches. Certain juices, certain fruits, they also help to relieve muscle aches and pains, heat, cold, things of that nature. You could do that naturally. Your headache, the headache, you should be questioning why you're having this headache, what you're doing to your body, what you've eaten in the last 3 days, because it could be a sign of a food allergy or a food sensitivity. And if you're having reoccurring headaches, what is your diet saying to you? And I say this because a food allergy will show up rather quickly within a few hours. A food sensitivity might not show up for 3 days after you've eaten something. But if you write it down and you've noted that you've had a headache on X, Y, and Z, and you've eaten a similar food within 3 days of X, Y, and Z, you might actually start to see a pattern as to why you're getting these headaches. Now, if it is some sort of food allergy or reaction to a chemical, this enema is going to help pull it out faster, and you're not going to be putting more chemicals in to try to trick your brain into feeling better. I know I sound a little crazy with that notion because it's safe, it's sold in the store, it's totally normal to take one of these pills. I have not taken one of those pills in a long time. I have never taken a pain pill, not after any single surgery I've ever been in, because I think those pills are going to put me in a shallow grave. Just, it's going to put me in an early grave. And doing a lot of research on what other areas of the body that just even one pill can affect, or taking those pills regularly over the course of a long period of time. And I think that's really where I get at with the whole use of an enema with just water. I'm not talking, okay, and that's the other thing. I'm not talking a coffee enema or an enema infused with anything other than water. I'm not looking at synthetic medication to alleviate the problems in my GI tract. I am literally trying to stabilize motility, clean out my body, let my body rest, because the more clean we become, the more it allows to actually turnover, like a cell turnover for your skin. It's basically like a turnover for your intestines. Really get them nice and clean, and that allows the body to start producing things better, more efficiently, faster. You're breaking down things, and you're actually getting nutrition. And I think that because everything is based off convenience for most people, we don't even know the damage that we are actually doing on the inside, and the amount of inflammation that we may have from certain foods. And seriously, I've had doctors calling me all day because I should be in the hospital and I'm avoiding them. I'm sorry, I'm the worst patient. If you ever watch this, guys, sorry. Anyway, so I start doing the enema once a day after I do this first day where it's just like a major body cleanse, and I actually was like, holy crap. And here's the craziest thing, guys. My stomach, for the first time in years, like years and years, after, I think I did this for 3 days in a row because I really wanted to start fresh. And I was at a very low point on IVs when I get really, really sick. So I was like, what else do I have going on in my life? Nothing. So I do this, and after this course, my stomach was flat. I could see my feet again. I could see my feet. I'm usually so swollen when I look down. I can't see the little feet. I can't even express to you the entire shock that I had went through seeing my feet again, seeing my stomach flat, being able to eat meals and not immediately, being able to eat food for an entire day and still have a belly that's not like this big. Sorry, this big. I'm in the camera. It's astounding. So I had started doing it once a day, and then I started to have some GI flare-ups. And then I said, I'll try to do another cleanse, and then I'll do it twice a day. Twice a day turned out to be really good, you know, morning and evening. So that way, at night, I can cleanse so that before I go to bed, I can actually rest. And the one thing I love about a night enema is that I do it before I go to bed. It actually puts my body in a resting state to prepare for sleep. Normally, and it actually severely, severely helped with my insomnia. And that's one thing that, again, that's been years and years I've been dealing with. And I'm usually in so much pain because my GI, or I'm so swollen that it puts so much pressure on my joints that I just can't get comfortable. I can't fall asleep. Then I become in this cycle of not sleeping where I'm so wired and running on adrenaline that by really cleansing my bowels before sleeping and not, giving myself a few hours of a break from food before I go to bed, with this cleanse of just water through an enema, my body started to get into a point where I could sleep again. The pain would decrease. I wasn't swollen all the time. My joints weren't as stiff. I could just fall asleep. Then in the morning, everybody should have a morning bowel movement. If you have any bowel movement, any time of day, your number one bowel movement should be in the morning. Because you have to think, all that junk sitting in your intestines from the night before all the way to the morning is just in there and permeating and doing what it wants to do, good or bad for your body. And that morning bowel movement should be something like your cup of coffee. After you have it, you should be like, pooh, I'm awake, I feel great. And if you don't have it, you're probably sitting there like a slug all day long. And so I get up every morning, I do my morning enema, first thing, that's very important, before I jump in a shower, before I wash my face. While I'm doing my enema, I do my oil pulling. So then that way I'm taking care of my teeth, starting my day here, starting my day there, working my way, doing my thing, getting all the gunk out of my body that sat all night long, feeling better so I can really start my day fresh, unfoggy, level-headed, clear-headed. Really getting into that routine has helped tremendously. But I also found that my GI was still getting a little gunky and I was really having lots of pitfalls during the day. And, that comes from the fact that I do actually eat food, I'm not, I eat. I chart everything I eat so I can share that information with the doctors. I chart my bowel movements. Yes, I do, because they're so messed up that I have to give this information to the doctors. And, I've been through situations with people where they think, well, if you're writing all this down, you must have an eating disorder. If you're tracking your calories, if you're tracking the food you eat, or if you're not eating a lot of calories, you must have an eating disorder. And that, I guess, if you have an eating disorder, it can look as though I do too. But my whole life being, what have you eaten? What have you eaten? How much do you weigh? What were your stools like? How much water have you had? This is my whole life. This is everything I've ever lived with. That getting a calorie tracker, days where I don't eat a lot, I'm just really sick. I sometimes am so swollen from my GI, or I just have no appetite. I will make sure I get a minimum amount of calories, but if I don't get to my usual number, I'm not going to fret about it. I know I'll make it up in the course of a few days. And life is peaches. Keep it moving. But I can see how people could get that misconception because I am thin. I am a woman. I do sometimes say I feel fat. Who doesn't? If I'm swollen and bloated, that's the only way I can express my feelings. And then people look at you when you're thin and you say that and they may get the wrong impression. But I could say I feel swollen, but that's not really relatable to others, because again, when I say I feel swollen, people are like, really? But I do have the same feelings everybody else does, thin or not. I still feel these ways, and it's still very uncomfortable, if not more so. So I work very closely with my medical team and my nutritionist, my dietitian. And, I make a point to take pictures of things if they're not normal, if they're really weird. I make note of every single thing I eat. I keep a diary. I have an e-diary and a written diary. This is so important to me to live, to function properly, to do the best I can do to live healthfully. And so if someone wants to think what they want to think about me, that's fine and dandy. They can do what they want. But until you've walked a mile in my shoes and lived the life I've lived and dealt with the doctors to the extent that I've dealt with the medical community, to even remotely understand what it is like to have every single thing you eat broken down, scrutinized, and I mean literally, you don't have enough whatever, you don't have enough vitamin D, you haven't got enough protein, you didn't get enough fat this day, calories, saturated fat. And when I say this, it's not even a joke. This is my life. I need to read labels, live by labels, die by labels, get the numbers right, get the vitamin levels right, get the calories, get the fat, get the protein, get the fiber, or in my case, not get so much fiber, lower sugar, higher sugar, regulate my sugar. Like, oh my God, do you know how stressful all of this is? And then try to maintain, proper GI function when I'm already not maintaining anything. So my life has become super helpful by the use of enemas and the use of accurately tracking through. I use two things. One tracker just lets me look at it and go, okay, this is what I've consumed today, this is how much water I've gotten today, this is where my weight is. At the end of the day, gives me a printout that says, here's how much the percentage of fat, protein, and something. Fat, protein, and carbs. So it lets me see if I want to print out of fiber, sugar, everything, I can see it. That way, at the end of the week, when I do my full week compilation, there's a program, it's not an app, there's a program on the internet that you can put the information in from everything you ate, and then it will also break down, the same fat, protein, sugar, carb, fiber, but it goes a step further. It talks about the vitamin levels, the ratios that you've gotten day to day, what you might be deficient in, what you might be lower in, where you need to increase so that you can actually get the proper amino acids, the proper minerals, just everything on a right scale. And aside from those two, I like to write it down, and that's really where my diary begins of what I track with my bowels. Before it used to be no bowel, no bowel. Swelling, meds, nothing. Now it's enema, stool was this, enema, stool was this, enema, stool was this. Staying at the same times every day, keeping it, keeping a regimen, sticking to it, eating my meals around the same times every day, eating snacks, making sure my blood sugars don't drop, have become a lot easier because my body's cleaner, because it's more regulated now. I'm doing one more thing good and cleansing, taking out all these chemicals of all these prescriptions, getting rid of them, using water, and making sure that I'm getting the water intake that I need, getting the foods that I need. Just takes one ugly step out of it, and now I can just focus on maintaining and figuring out really what's going on with my GI, because now it's down to fecal fat tests and stool examination. And I know that sounds crazy and that it's very detailed and this is very personal, but this has been my life since the very minute I was born. And essentially, that was one of the big factors of deciding that I have CF. Yes, I had severe lung issues and I was always sick and I smelled like salt and all of the other standard CF things I had, but the GI, it has been my whole life, my whole struggle, my whole existence, my whole being, my whole longevity has been this. And yes, this is a personal post that I'm actually really passionate about, and it's why I've strived to live this clean lifestyle, this whole food plant-based lifestyle, because I want what's best for me. I want what's best for my body. And, I'm very type A, I'm very anal, I'm very anxious, I have a lot of anxiety over things and aesthetics, and, I need things done a certain way, and having these additional programs to track what I eat makes my life that much easier. And yes, I may seem crazy from at a table. I'm like, oh, I just had this, I just had this, I just had this. But honestly, seeing my doctors, it makes my life that much easier. Because I can say, oh, on blah, 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 when I had this issue, I had these things. Or, oh, I see that I'm running low in this. How would you suggest that I modify my diet? Or, do you think my levels are right? Or they'll say, hey, you need to bump up your protein to this percentage instead of this. Here are different ways. Like, the beauty is that as much as I may loathe talking to the dietitian and the nutrition team, we work hand in hand. I really do try to work with them, but I do also find some things to be out of my control, or things that I truly disagree with. Like, protein is one area where I think I will always butt heads with the medical team, and I'm okay with that because I feel a certain way and I'm sticking with my way. And I think that's truly where we tend to have our biggest disputes, is protein. And, I really, taking out a lot of chemicals and adding in a natural element and actually cleansing and removing and allowing it to just do its business with the use of gravity. It's amazing. I know that a lot of people that I have talked to who use things like suppositories, you can sometimes get them prescription, sometimes you can get them over the counter. And, there's a lot of side effects with those because you've got the lubricant on the vessel. It's got a lot of chemicals. It can really irritate your rectum. Sorry, I'm going to be really fresh here and just put it out there. But it can irritate your rectum. It can actually irritate your intestines. It can cause hives and other skin reactions because of the chemicals in it. Why, if you're going to put something up, why wouldn't you just do something natural that's way cheaper in the realm of life than buying boxes of suppositories? So this is to any one of you who either are living a life where you think you're doing okay, but getting a little cleaner could never hurt. You've been interested in learning more about enemas, and if it's right for you, you can decide. Or if you come from a health or an illness background where you're concerned about your health and you're like, I'm doing so much of this, or maybe I'm not doing enough and I could get healthier just by adding this element in. I hope this video has helped you. I plan on doing a few more personal videos in the upcoming months where I talk about different natural substitutes I do for my body and myself and my healing, as opposed to the I guess I would say the standard or traditional protocols that doctors would use, using medications or prescription medications. And this is just my story, my journey, my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying, hey, screw your doctors, listen to me. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm saying, you know your body. Your body is your body. If you don't like what's happening to it, the only person that can change that is you. If you want to find more natural ways to heal yourself, and maybe, if you're lucky, cut back on some of your medications, only you have the ability to change your life. No one else can change your life for you. No one else can force you to take the medications that maybe you don't want to take and maybe you don't like the way you feel using them. I do everything with transparency to my doctors. Full transparency. I am very much in communication with how I feel about every element. I'm in full communication about the things that I do that may differ from standard protocol. But I do it because I often see natural or holistic ways of caring for myself. And if you don't try, you'll never know. So that is where I leave you today. It's a longer video, but it's a passionate video. And I just wanted to share my journey with you. a little more personally. And thank you all for taking the time. If you've watched the whole thing through, especially, please take the time, hit subscribe up above. Please like it below, comment below. I could easily answer more questions, and you know, my husband says don't add this at the end because I've talked about doing this video, but honestly, bowels are my way of life. I can't express the amount of friends that I have that contact me regarding their bowels, regarding, I've gotten pictures, like I have a very open friendship and a very open story regarding GI related issues with my friends. And you know, if you have something personal going on and you just need to talk to someone and say, hey, like, maybe you've experienced this, do you have an idea? I mean, I know some people are like, bowel talk is taboo, I don't get into it, I'm not going to talk about it, it's my business. Totally cool. But if you just are dealing with whatever and you have an issue and you want to see if somebody else can relate to you, because I know as things get more severe, it becomes harder to deal with, and sometimes doctors don't always believe you. That's why, honestly, I say document everything. And I have whipped out my camera and been like, tell me what's wrong with my bowels. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm being transparent. And I think that's essentially where I'm going with a lot of my videos lately, is the transparency, because my goal in life is to be helpful to others, but also to be a voice for people that may not stand up for themselves or may not verbalize certain things that are happening with them, but really to let them know there are other people out there that struggle, and I just want to help. So, if you would like to contact me directly and privately, or if you have a rando question, you can leave it in the comments below. But you can email me at theveganvixenblog@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you in any way that I can, or suggest sources or supplements like probiotics. And you know, I'm huge on probiotics. I actually have done a few videos, but I think I'm going to do an updated video in the next few days just to talk more about that with digestion and health. So I think that's really another good topic to really bring up to you guys. But honestly, I'm here for you. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time and spending it with me. And please check me out on Instagram. I am at the Vegan Vixen. So I will catch you all later this week. I love you all.